All right. Hello, everyone. Today I am joined by Assistant Dean for Public Interest, Spring Miller, to talk to you about the public interest opportunities that we have at Vanderbilt Law School. So, Spring, if you could start by just introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about your background and how you wound up at Vanderbilt Law School.
Okay, it's really great to be here with you today, talking about all that we have to offer on the public interest front at Vanderbilt. So I am, I think, at heart, a public interest attorney. I am from Nashville originally and went to college and law school in the Northeast, but always with the intention of returning to my home state and engaging in public interest practice. And so I did. After I graduated from law school, I came back to Nashville and worked as a Skadden Fellow with Southern Migrant Legal Services, which is a farm worker legal services office that is part of a larger organization called Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid. And in that capacity, I advocated for the civil and workplace rights of migrant agricultural workers in 6 southeastern states. I was in that role for 7 years. And then an opportunity at Vanderbilt came up to be part of a sort of growing public interest program here. And I'm really committed to investing in and growing public interest resources in my home state and in the South. And I saw this as a great opportunity to be part of a terrific institution and sort of mentoring and nurturing the next generation of public interest attorneys. So that's how I got here, and I've now been here 7 years, and it's been a really terrific experience.
Well, good. We're glad to have you. When admitted students, particularly, are trying to choose which law school to attend, and they're interested in public interest work, what do you tell prospective students or admitted students to look for in a law school?
That's a great question. And I start out all my conversations with students who are considering Vanderbilt by first educating them about what I think they should be considering in general as they think about law school, if they intend to pursue public interest work. And I focus in particular on sort of 5 areas. First, I encourage them to look at the financial resources that a school offers to public interest students or students interested in pursuing public interest work during and after law school. I tell them to look at the career advising resources that are specifically geared toward public interest and government work. I tell them to look at the opportunities for public interest practice that a school offers, both credit bearing through clinics and externships and non-credit bearing through student pro bono groups and other sort of community-based pro bono opportunities. And then I also tell them to look at the sort of programming and culture and student organizations of a school and sort of evaluate to what extent the school kind of nurtures a culture of public service. So that's what I start out by saying that I think students should be looking for in all schools. And then I always turn to explaining what we have to offer here at Vanderbilt on each of those fronts.
And can you answer that question?
Yes.
How do you feel Vanderbilt really checks those boxes?
Yes. So starting with the financial resources, I feel really good about what we have to offer on this front. And I will say, too, that we've grown these resources substantially over the last 5 to 7 years. We offer a very robust summer stipend program. We typically award between $250,000 and $300,000 in summer stipends each summer to between 70 and 100 students who are performing unpaid legal internships in government agencies, nonprofit offices, and judicial chambers. We're not in a position where we can guarantee summer stipends for all of our students who apply for them. But during the time that I've been here, we've been able to fund all rising 3Ls at the level of support that they have sought. And we've been able to fund all rising 2Ls at least with a half summer stipend. Now, again, we can't guarantee that, but we have a strong track record on this front. Then we also offer various forms of public interest scholarships. I'd encourage students to speak with our admissions and financial aid offices about those opportunities. But one important one is the Garrison Social Justice Scholarship, which provides a large tuition support and guaranteed summer stipends to students who are committed to public interest work after graduation. And then on the postgraduate front, we also provide a number of financial resources for our students who are pursuing postgraduate public service work. One of these is the George Barrett Social Justice Fellowship, which provides salary and health insurance for graduates who pursue a one-year public interest project in conjunction with a host organization. And this fellowship is modeled on the National Skadden and Equal Justice Works Fellowships. Then we also participate in the Gideon's Promise program, which places recent law school graduates at underfunded, under-resourced public defender offices.
Yeah.
And then we provide some other forms of support to graduates who are engaged in temporary unpaid work at nonprofit and government agencies while they're seeking permanent positions generally in that sector. So we've got a lot going on in terms of financial resources. And then, and here I'm just kind of speaking in broad strokes. If anyone has questions about any of these offerings, they're welcome to reach out to me for more details. Then in terms of specialized career advising, I sort of serve as a supplemental specialized resource for our students, all of whom are assigned a career counselor in the career services office. So they get to know that career counselor very well. But then I'm here for those students who are interested in exploring or decide that they're interested in pursuing public service careers. And I work closely with my colleagues in the career services office to provide those students guidance and support. And we really look for ways to connect our students to public interest opportunities. We subsidize their participation in the largest national public interest job fair, the Equal Justice Works Conference, which happens every year in DC. And we host an on-campus government and public interest fair each January. So we really, again, my office works very closely with my colleagues in career services to provide that supplemental sort of specialized career mentorship and guidance for students interested in these careers. And then in terms of opportunities for public interest practice, we have a very robust sort of credit-bearing experiential learning program that offers a lot of opportunities for students to engage in public interest practice through clinics and externships, which are essentially credit-bearing internships with nonprofit and government agencies and judicial chambers. And then in addition to those credit-bearing opportunities, we have really focused in recent years on developing and growing non-credit bearing pro bono opportunities for our students. And some of those opportunities are organized by our student organizations themselves, who connect with local community groups, local legal aid groups that need support. Some of them are organized and facilitated by my office. My office has relationships with a number of local and national public interest organizations, and we look to sort of channel opportunities for students to get involved on a pro bono. Sometimes it's just a one-off basis, or sometimes it's sort of ongoing research support. It can be different forms of service opportunities that we facilitate through our office for our students. And that can start as early as their 1L year. And a lot of times our 1Ls can't do clinics and externships, but they're often eager to, get those opportunities to kind of connect with what it may have inspired them to go to law school in the first place, to serve underserved communities, or to give back in some form. And so we're really looking for ways to make sure that our 1Ls can get plugged in to that kind of work. And then in terms of programming and culture generally, I would just say my office works closely with the George Barrett Social Justice Program, which is an academic program here at the law school, to organize events, host speakers who are leading public interest and social justice advocates. We have a number of annual events that we coordinate with the George Barrett Social Justice Program, a distinguished practitioner in residence series that brings leading public interest attorneys to campus to speak about their work, and also meet one-on-one with students who are interested in speaking with them. We have an annual George Barrett Social Justice Lecture that brings some very top name national leaders in the field to speak to our community. And then we work with our student organizations to put on a number of other diverse public interest related events as well. And we do have very active student organizations that seek to create public service opportunities and strengthen a public service culture in the law school as well. I'm happy to talk more about those student organizations later.
So when students are coming in as a 1L, if they know they want to get involved in public interest work, what's the best way for them to go about that? Is it through the student organizations, or do they learn more about the offerings at orientation?
So they do, that's another thing I should have mentioned. My office offers a public service orientation. That is an optional part of the orientation program for students, but it's been well attended in the past couple of years. That's one way to learn off the bat about sort of local pro bono opportunities or organizations that you might want to extern with or serve as an intern with in the future. So that's one. We have lots of sort of points of entry for students who are interested in public interest or public service work. And we recognize that students have a lot going on their first year of law school. They're sort of getting acclimated to the academic environment of the law school. The demands of the classroom are intense. And so if, they're not able to make it to public service orientation, or, they feel like they sort of have to keep their heads down their first semester and really focus on their studies, there's lots of other entry points. They can always sign up with my office to receive pro bono updates and information about pro bono opportunities. They can sign up with the various student organizations that facilitate pro bono opportunities as well. So there's no sort of single point of entry. I'm always here as a resource. My office is always here as a resource. And then the student organizations are also great resources. So there are just multiple avenues through which students can connect with service opportunities at Vanderbilt.
And to get to know the pro bono opportunities a little bit more, can you give me details about our pro bono pledge?
Yes, so our pro bono pledge is, it predates me and my time at the law school. This is a pledge that that students developed, a program that students developed. It came out of our Student Legal Aid Society. And the idea is that it is a commitment that sort of tracks the professional commitment of attorneys to perform pro bono service. Most state rules of professional conduct for attorneys include an aspirational standard that attorneys should try to engage in 50 hours of pro bono service a year. And our students were even more ambitious than that. And so our pro bono pledge requires 75 hours of service over the student's time in law school. Now, I say it requires. The pro bono pledge is completely optional. Students are not required to take the pledge. And if they take the pledge and don't meet that 75-hour requirement, nothing happens to them.
That is okay.
Yes. And the pledge, some number of credit-bearing service hours can be counted toward the pledge requirement. There are some other details and nuances that if students are interested, I can explain in more detail. But the basic, goal of the pledge is to sort of inculcate an ethos of service in our students that they will carry on with them into their professional lives. And again, the origins and the genesis of the pledge is with the student organizations themselves. And my office now just plays a sort of supporting role in pushing out pro bono opportunities and kind of tracking pro bono hours. But this is a student-driven initiative.
And what are the best student organizations for students who are public interest minded to get involved with when they're at VLS?
So, I think a number of our student organizations actually look for and facilitate pro bono and service opportunities, and also organize public service and pro bono related programming and events. So there's actually, this is the great thing about public interest at Vanderbilt, is that it's a commitment that is sort of interwoven into all aspects of the school. And that's reflected in the work of our student organizations. So again, a number of student organizations that may not on their face be public interest oriented actually weave service opportunities throughout their work and their programming. But I would say that the Student Legal Aid Society and the Student-Led Law Students for Social Justice, or LSSJ, are the two major student organizations that are explicitly committed to creating and advancing public interest opportunities and a public interest culture in the law school. And those are two large and active student organizations that my office works closely with.
Awesome. And if a student maybe knows they don't want to go into public interest or public service work after graduation, can they still be involved with that type of work while they're a law student?
Absolutely. And we absolutely encourage that. And that's really important to me, to my office, I think also to these student organizations. We believe really fundamentally that public service is a tenet of the legal profession. So public service and pro bono work are relevant to you and should be available to you regardless of the career path that you're going to choose. I also want to say that a lot of our students and a lot of our graduates go on to serve in both the private and the public sectors over the course of their careers. So public interest commitments and values can be translated into different kinds of work at different stages of a lawyer's career, but always that fundamental commitment to service it's just part of the profession. It's part of the professional commitment that one undertakes when one becomes a lawyer. And so we try to ensure that the pro bono and the service opportunities that we're working to facilitate and grow and make available to our students are available to everybody, and that everybody feels like they can take part in them. Everybody feels like they're relevant to them, regardless of what immediate postgraduate career path they plan on taking.
And then I only have two more questions for you, I promise. But speaking of their career path, I know we talked about how your office offers specialized career advising. And that's something that I always talk to students about is being a small law school. We can offer that one-on-one career advising. And then they also have specialized career advising. What do you think is the benefit of having kind of both a career counselor, but also the public interest office to kind of help you figure out the next steps?
Yeah, I do think that that's really important. And I think you're absolutely right that this is something special about our law school. So I think um, that first of all, it's really important that students have that initial sort of one-on-one relationship with their career counselor. So they get to know someone gets to know them, because a lot of students come into law school not really being sure of what career paths are going to be available to them when they graduate. And they've got a lot to kind of take in and process. And it's really important that they have that career counselor that they can turn to as they're gathering information about the legal profession, and they're sort of making sense for themselves of what might work for them. Because positions in the public sector, entry-level attorney positions in the public sector, tend to be sort of fewer and farther between than in the private sector, and they can be sort of more difficult to identify and predict. Public interest organizations and government offices just don't generally have the budgets to hire on a regularized timeline, predictable timeline, in the way that some of the larger firms do. I mean, there are a few exceptions to that, but that's generally the case. So it means that students have to sort of do more homework, I guess I'd say, to identify what positions are out there and to connect with them. And so the benefit of having a specialized office like mine is that it's our kind of mandate to keep up with those hiring trends as best we can, as hiring patterns as best we can. Now, I will say that the public sector itself is very large and diverse. And so it's not that we have, sort of grasp on every single opportunity that's available everywhere, but we understand this sector. We know how to orient and advise our students as to how to position themselves for opportunities within it. And so we work super closely with career services to support our students. And we benefit too from the relationships that we cultivate with public interest organizations through our pro bono program and through our externship program. So I really try to make sure that we're capturing information about opportunities in the public sector through all the different avenues through which our students are connecting with and engaging with that sector, and then kind of bring that back to my office and kind of add it to our kind of database of knowledge about this large and diverse public sector.
Well, the students are lucky to have you. To end on a super light note, I've ended all my interviews this way. What is your favorite part about being a part of Vanderbilt Law School?
It's really got to be the students. It's I learn so much from the students, and they're constantly sort of challenging me, inspiring me. It's quite remarkable too to see what they go on to do. And I love being a part of their life and career trajectory at a sort of formative time. It's really a privilege and honor to get to work with them. And they never cease to amaze me and, again, inspire me, humble me. I keep learning from them. It's this great cycle. I learn from them. I hope that I pass on that knowledge to other students. It's just a terrific community to be a part of.
I definitely agree. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I really appreciate it. I know you had mentioned earlier that if admitted students had any questions or specific questions about public interest, they could reach out to you or your office. Would you be able to provide an email address that they could reach out to? And then
Absolutely. So they can just email me directly. And I hear from lots of prospective students, and I always love it. I love having these conversations. So my email is spring.miller@vanderbilt.edu. And don't be shy about reaching out. I hear from prospective students all the time, love talking to them, and look forward to hearing from you.